This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 291.
I program my own computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working. System is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology.
Why, hello everybody, and I'm Adam Silver, and the host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. We have 4 events. WordCamp's coming up. WordCamp Cape Town, September 27th, 28th. WordCamp Vancouver, September 28th, which I'm happy to say I was a mentor on. It was awesome. WordCamp St. Petersburg in Russia, September 28th. And WordCamp Dhaka, also September 28th. A lot of one-day camps. So literally none in the U.S. Only one in North America, technically. Yeah, that's awesome. So check those out if you were in those areas. Okay, moving on. Segment 1 in the news. 2 things to talk about here. First and foremost, Justin Tadlock has joined WP Tavern. You know, Jeff Chandler left. He kind of left the thing he started years ago, like 10, 15 years ago. He's moved on. Justin comes over from Theme Hybrid, which he also started like 11 years ago. And he is, I'm not sure exactly shutting down Theme Hybrid, or he's just kind of letting it rest for a bit, but he's going to become a contributing editor over at WP Tavern. Should be very interesting to see his take on things as well. So happy for him. And also, it was announced last week, a couple days ago, I guess, on the recording of this episode, Automattic announced that it has closed another investment, a Series D investment from Salesforce Ventures of $300 million, taking the entire round. So now it puts the valuation of Automattic at $3 billion. So, that's kind of cool and crazy. So there you have it. There's some investment going on there. So more growth for Automattic. And there's a link in the show notes to what Matt had written about that and how that worked out and the timing of all that and what's next in that in the vision there. So check that out on the show notes. All right, moving on to segment 2, the meat potatoes. This one is about white on white, meaning this week I want to talk about the white text on white background issues that apparently is a thing for many people. And I've heard about this in the past, but I never had to deal with it until recently. Both 2 times in the past week and a half, actually. One was a client site, and one was actually Kitchen Sink WP site. And both situations, I guess the issue is the same, but the resolution was different. And so what happens? So what am I talking about, white on white? Well, what happens is this. I've seen and heard about it, but it's only going to happen for the most part that I've seen in the classic editor. You know, if you're running the newest version of WordPress and you're running Gutenberg, the new editor, it's probably not going to ever happen there, or it hasn't happened there. I haven't seen it yet. But if you're running classic editor, it's there. It's when you start typing in a content area of a post or a page, you can't see the text. You can select all of what you just type. You'll see its text is white on the white background. That's a problem. Additionally, other areas of that page or post don't work, like screen options. You try to click around and try to open up those little drop downs. Those don't work either. So it's just odd, right? So why is this happening? How to fix it? And kind of those things I want to talk about real quick. So why is this happening? Well, it's one of 2 things that I've found out from my experience. One is when you update WordPress core, something in that update went wonky. A file or 2 didn't get installed properly, and the tiny MCE elements within JS are missing. That is one option. And the other option is could be due to a conflict from another plugin with the newer version of core and JavaScript, as well as the classic editor. So it's hard to say exactly where the issue is right from the get-go. So how to fix this? Well, you have a few options here. And again, I'm going to say that I'm going to mention on options. If you don't know, I actually have another podcast called Get Options Podcast. So check that out. Okay. You have some options here. 3 of them I want to talk about right now. First and foremost, you can test this and turn off all plugins and themes and see if the issue goes away. Now, I realize this may not be an ideal way to do this on a live site, so don't do it on a live site. Do it over on staging. If you have a subdomain, if you have a staging server, or I often recommend and use Desktop Server by ServerPress, it works well. That's what I did. I made a copy of the Kitchen Sink site, brought it local, and I did the testing there. The one I did on the client site, we did figure out it was a plugin conflict. It was an old podcasting plugin that they weren't using, and it solved the problem. We just turned it off, but it took a while to figure that out. And we did it on staging. They're over on a host that has decent staging as well. Did it there, then just repeated the process on the live. Not a problem. Like I said, though, Kitchen Sink's website wasn't so easy. I brought it local. I literally turned off all plugins and all the themes. And went back to a basic core theme, like 2017. And the issue was still there. So that's when I realized, what else is going on here? So I started inspecting the element with the browser tools. And I found that the issue was something was missing in tiny MCE. It said literally tiny MCE not defined. So after some troubleshooting and figuring out what could this be, how do I fix this, I replaced the tiny MCE folder inside my local site. So if you're running it locally like I was, it's my website's directory / the site name, let's say kswp.local, not local, .dev.tc / WP includes / JS. And then there's a folder called tiny MCE. I replaced that with a known good one, and that worked. The problem went away. So that is one option of going through and doing this and trying to troubleshoot and figure it out. What was missing? Hard to say. I didn't do a diff check. I didn't do anything like that. And how that happened, again, it's hard to say. When it got updated somewhere along the lines, either Classic Editor when I installed that, or when I updated Core, or both. Because I knew it wasn't another theme, the theme issue, and it wasn't plugins conflicting. That wasn't the problem on my case. On the client site, it was a different plugin, and that solved the problem right away. So, third option here is you can add a line of code to WP config. I found this online as well. I did some Googling. And the line of code is, you add this to WP config in the top line, like the second line down, define, parentheses, open, concatenate _ scripts, close it out, and then comma false. And this solves the problem also. But it's weird that it solves the problem in my mind. I understand what it's doing. It's kind of just putting all the scripts in one page or one load. I kind of understand how it's working. But it kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies, like, well, what else is not working then? Or like, am I going to find some other bug down the line? So I just realized as I'm saying this out loud, I did this all locally and it works. I now need to go back to the live site. Did I do it on the live site? I think I did. Yeah, I must have done it already. I did it on the live site. I did it the line of code on Kitchen Sink. I'm going to swap that out for the tiny MCE fix. I think I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that next week and take care of that when I get back from this little trip I'm going on. Anyway, so that's what it is. It's either a plugin that you can test and remove or turn off or update, or it's the tiny MCE not defined error. So you need to replace that altogether. So there you go. All right. Well, I hope that helps. If you have that white on white issue, I hope you don't have it. It's kind of a pain in the butt to figure out what's going on, what's the conflict. But I have like something like 25 plugins on Kitchen Sink and turning them all off, and the theme didn't solve it. So I knew it wasn't that. I knew it was something to do with more with core. So there you have it. Okay. Well, that's it for that. Moving on to segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This week's it's a tool. It is called, I think it's Berm or Berme, B-I-R-M-E, Berm. I'm going to go with Berm, berm.net. This was recommended and suggested by my friend Elisa, who has been on the show. It is a image optimization tool, much like I use Tiny PNG. Is that the one I use? Yeah, I use Tiny PNG. So it's another option here. And it looks like it's free. Haven't tried it out too much yet, just kind of tinkering with it. But you can check it out at birme.net. I'm trying to load it here right now. There it is. It's bulk image resizing, version 2.0. Flexible, easy to use bulk image resizer, resize your images, etc., etc. Check it out. I have no connection to it. Looks like it's free. And there you go. So, okay, that is it for this week's show. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@kitchensinkwp.com, or use that speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, become a Patreon. I would really appreciate that. If you want to sponsor the show, even better. There's a form on the website. Thanks so much for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right, bye-bye.